ranking every single Call of Duty Zombies wonder weapon from worst to best. In this video, there's going to be 3 main pieces of criteria that we need to pay attention to in order to rank these. Number 1 is how effective it is and how strong it is against killing the zombies in the first place. Obviously the most important, because you need to kill the zombies. 2 is how accessible it is to the average player. That could be from the mystery box or just a list of parts, but if it's difficult to build with a low effectiveness rate, then we're in trouble. And number 3 is a little bit subjective, but just how it feels playing a game of Call of Duty Zombies. So if it just feels terrible in your hands, then most likely it is, and you don't want that. Something that should also be known is that the Origin staffs, Horizon Drag bows, and Ancient Evil Gauntlets will all be grouped together because I don't see too many differences between them. VR11. Now coming in at the very bottom of this list, it has to be the VR11, making it the worst Call of Duty Zombies wonder weapon of all time. This thing is absolutely terrible. Essentially, the whole purpose of the VR11 is used as a distraction device. When shooting a zombie, it'll turn into a human that will just kind of run around and distract the zombies for maybe like 5 seconds. And after that, they just come right back to chasing you. It doesn't kill the zombies at all, it just distracts them. And yes, you're gonna be like, but there's that co-op ability where if you shoot your friend, then you get the insta-kill and the zombie blood. And while yes, that may be useful, there is only a limited amount of ammo, and for solo players, that is absolutely useless. Winter's Howl. Now this disgrace of a weapon really isn't all that much better than the VR11. However, it actually has capabilities of killing the zombies. Essentially, this thing is just the ice staff's little brother, and you shoot it and it freezes the zombies kinda and slows them down, but it doesn't really kill them unless you unload an entire mag into them. So that's why this thing is coming in at number 28. Jet gun. Oh, do I have a lot to say about the jet gun. So imagine you're playing Transit, right? And you want to build the jet gun because you were like, oh, this is a wonder weapon, right? It can't be that bad. So you go all around the map, picking one part up at a time, taking it to the town and then going back to the location to pick up another part. And once you finally construct this amazing wonder weapon, this totally amazing wonder weapon, you realize that it breaks after 5 seconds of using it. You genuinely can only use this thing for 5 seconds before it overheats and explodes into 20 million pieces. It would be so much lower if it didn't have infinite ammo and infinite damage technically, but it definitely deserves to be all the way down here. The Wunderwaffe Scope. Now I said Wunderwaffe Scope, yes I did, because I am not trying to pronounce whatever that is. Essentially what this thing is a worse version of the Wunderwaffe with a sniper scope on it. I really don't have much to say about this weapon except it's pretty boring, it's unoriginal, and it just made the Wunderwaffe worse. Kraken. Now once again, another Black Ops 4 weapon that was just disappointing. Now I won't lie, I love the vibe that this thing gives off. It's almost like you're on a pirate ship and this is like a cannonball launcher, but really it's just disappointing. The best thing this does is kill Blightfathers and Stokers, which is a good ability, I won't lie, but for just killing the average zombie, it's not that great. Ray gun. Now yes, believe it or not, the ray gun really isn't all that great compared to other wonder weapons. This thing is just simply outdated, and it was good back in World at War because it had no competition. But nowadays, with all the wonder weapons that we have, it really just doesn't put up a fight, and honestly, if Cold War ray gun wasn't a thing, then this thing would be much lower. Ray gun Mark II. Now yes, I'm putting the ray guns very close to each other. The ray gun Mark II is simply just the better ray gun. With higher damage and a better headshot multiplier, this thing is really just the older brother to the ray gun, which it was meant to be in the first place. But like I said, it really can't compare to any other wonder weapon that has been released since. Alpha Omega ray guns. Now in the intro, I should have specified that the Alpha Omega ray guns would be grouped together similarly to the Origin staffs, but the only reason I'm putting this above the Mark II is because the variants are slightly better, but really these things are just disappointing, and every time I look at them I just kind of want to throw up because Alpha Omega exists. So we're just gonna move on. Scavenger. Now with Call of the Dead being my favorite map, it pains me to put this here, but really the Scavenger is just disappointing. This thing had potential to have infinite damage, but of course Treyarch was like, nah, No, we don't need infinite damage for this gun. I love the idea behind this weapon, an explosive sniper that shoots rounds that just go sorry about that. But yeah, it was really disappointing because the only round that this thing is going to carry you to is about round 40 before it drops off, making Call of the Dead round 100 impossible. Tundra Gun. Now, in my worst maps of all time video that you guys have been blowing up, I'm sure you've seen it by now, I did kind of hate on the Tundra Gun just a little too much. However, that does not take away from the fact that this is not really a great wonder weapon. Sure, this thing has infinite damage, and sure, it can be good for the Tog der Toten round 100. However, this thing has splash damage, meaning you can hurt yourself with this gun without PhD flopper, or I guess PhD slider in Black Ops 4. And also, you have to be very accurate with this weapon, unlike the Thundergun, which you can just shoot into a crowd and it'll blow them away, making this require some skill, which isn't a bad factor, it's just not great for the average player. DIE. The DIE, or the Die, is the first Cold War wonder weapon appearing on this list. With 4 elemental variants, it sounds pretty decent. However, when you look at these elemental versions closely, you'll realize that really only one of them matters. The Electro Bolt really just outclasses every single other variant by a mile. If the variants were better on this thing, then maybe it'd be higher, but for right now, it's right here. Death of Orion. Now, I hate this wonder weapon. Statistically, it is supposed to be very good, but in practice, this thing just feels absolutely terrible. Without that glitch where you can just rapid fire this thing would be so much lower on the list. Essentially, it's just a worse version of the Wunderwaffe in terms of damage and effectiveness. Once you get to a certain point, it just kind of feels like it's stunning the zombies and not really killing them at all, which is a problem. But I will admit, shooting electricity from a scorpion is super sick. LAKEY. Now, I was a little conflicted on where to put the LAKEY in my list. However, I think number 17 is a good fit for it. Yes, it's not really one of the better wonder weapons in Cold War or just in general, but something about this wonder weapon just feels so good to me. It has 2 styles, one that will slow the zombies down and explode after a certain moment, and one that is just a rapid fire ray gun. With it being put on a lackluster map, it just kind of made sense that it was overshadowed and never really got the recognition it deserved, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that there are much better wonder weapons. Ray Gun Mark III. Now, the LAKEY and the Ray Gun Mark III are very similar in ability. However, I just believe the Mark III does it better than the LAKEY. Yes, this thing probably won't carry you to round 100 on Gorod Krovi. In fact, it probably drops off around round 40 or so. But in terms of doing the Easter egg and just survivability, the Ray Gun Mark III just outclasses the LAKEY. The portal that it creates is much more effective than the one that the LAKEY creates, and it just feels better in your hands when you're running around with it. Paralyzer. I believe this wonder weapon represents what the jet gun should have been all along. With infinite ammo and infinite damage, the Paralyzer does it so much better than the jet gun. Yes, the Paralyzer can overheat just like the jet gun, but unlike the jet gun, it doesn't break into a million pieces when it does. The Paralyzer won't carry you to round 100. You're gonna need to use buildables and everything else, but it does help get you past those early rounds and up to about round 40. In addition, you get that plus to fly around wherever you want. Wunderwaffe. The problem with the Wunderwaffe nowadays is I just feel like it's outdated. Now, back then, the Wunderwaffe was only compared to really the Ray Gun, and that was about it, meaning it was one of the better wonder weapons. And yes, this thing is still very good, with it appearing on too many maps I can't even count. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that this is a good wonder weapon. Allastair's Folly. Now, I don't really know how to say this wonder weapon entirely still, but this thing is at number 13 for a reason. It really is an elemental revolver, and this thing is actually pretty good. I love the way that this thing feels, and it's almost like a mini ray gun in your hands as well as a wind staff. Like, have you seen the one where they go spin around and stuff? That is so cool. But being placed on Dead of the Night, this is obviously going to be a little controversial. Chrysalax. Now, it might be a surprise to see the Chrysalax this high, but it really is a good wonder weapon. When using the melee ability, when you kill a zombie, it regenerates your armor and health, making it pretty impossible to die using it. And honestly, this thing is just so fun to use. You run around with it and slice up zombies. It's really just a good time, and it's the second place in terms of the Cold War wonder weapons. KT-4. Now the KT-4 on Zetsubo no Shima is very similar to the Sliquifier from Die Rise. The thing with the KT-4 is it's super unique, and the only reason it's not higher is because it is an absolute pain to obtain this thing and upgrade it. Literally half of the Easter egg on this map is obtaining it and upgrading it. That being said, when you retrieve it, it has so many unique abilities. For instance, you can shoot a spore on anywhere on the map and you can speed yourself up and make you just go infinitely fast like Sonic the Hedgehog or something. It's truly a unique wonder weapon and an underrated one because Zetsubo is just kind of hated these days. Cerberus. Now this is actually going to be very controversial, but the Cerberus is insanely good in Mauer Toten. With these elemental variants that zombies drop, you basically have infinite ammo with this gun. All of the elemental abilities have some sort of use, whether it be that shotgun variant or the laser variant. This thing is just so good, and it's honestly underrated in terms of wonder weapons. Blundergat slash the Asagat and the Magmagat. Now I'm just ranking these all together just simply because I think it would be easier just to do it all at once. This right here is an example of how you do elemental variants of a certain weapon. The Acid Gat and the Magma Gat are two of one of my favorite wonder weapons of all time, with the Acid Gat acting like a monkey bomb and exploding, and the Magma Gat doing a very similar feature with like lava. The Sweeper is absolutely insane against zombies, and especially the Warden in Black Ops 2. Ancient Evil Gauntlets. Every single one of these gauntlets is insanely unique and featured on one of the best Black Ops 4 maps, Ancient Evil. Each hand has a god tied to them, and you learn more about them when completing the upgrade for each hand. It is a unique experience that really the Der Eisendrache bows and the Origin staffs can't compare to. However, in terms of carrying you to those higher rounds or just having a good feel, these hands really aren't the greatest. They still are pretty good though. 3179 JGB 215, aka the baby gun. Now don't ask me how I memorized the baby gun's name, but I did. I think that this is the most unique wonder weapon in Call of Duty Zombies of all time. Literally what you do is you shrink the zombies into babies and then punt them. Seriously, what other wonder weapon has you punting babies across the map? Really an effective wonder weapon and super cool. I love this wonder weapon. Origin staffs. Now whoa, I know it is very low for the Origin staffs to be right here. However, there are better wonder weapons than the Origin staffs. That does not take away from the fact that these things are really good and awesome to use as well. There are 4 staffs, meaning 4 players each get 1 staff. Each of them having their own upgrade quest that feels complicated, but once you complete it, you feel great. It is the introduction of our first 4 elemental wonder weapon system, and Origins would not be the same without these. Sliquifier. Now, unfortunately, this was placed on one of the worst maps ever. However, that does not take away from how good this thing is. Pre-patch, this thing would probably honestly be at the #1 spot. You could shoot it 1 bullet. Shoot 1 bullet and it would end the entire round. This thing was absolutely insane, and I wish that they really didn't patch it at all. There is a way to revert it back to its patch. However, you have to be an experienced player to know about that. So the average player is just going to use the Sliquifier without knowing that that even exists. But this like purple goo is insane at killing the zombies for some reason. Der Eisendrache bows. Now yes, it's not really a surprise seeing these things this high. Each of the bows has such a unique quest behind it. And the thing that puts them above the Origin staffs, in my opinion, is that each of them have their own story to tell when doing the upgrades. I would much rather do the story of the Wolf King than the story of whatever the piano is when I'm upgrading the Lightning Staff. Following those stories is super unique, and honestly, it just gives a vibe to the map that no other map really captures. Wave Gun. Now, in certain situations, I would put this above the Thundergun. Essentially, this is just a copy of the Thundergun with more ammo and a good vibe to it. Like that microwave ding when you kill a zombie is just chef's kiss, dude. That is the coolest thing. Now, the sole reason that this thing is not higher than the Thundergun is because it only features on one map, which just sucks. I wish this thing was on a different map, and honestly, if it was, then it would be so much higher. It might even be number 1. Thundergun. It's not really a surprise seeing this thing here. This thing is absolutely insane with infinite damage and a great variety of maps that it features on. Now, yes, the Black Ops 1 version doesn't allow you to have drops, which is a big deal, but the Black Ops 3 version does, and that just takes the cake. Using this thing with a power vacuum can literally take you to an infinity round. You can essentially sit there on Revelations with power vacuum and just dong 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 the Thundergun all day if you want. And any wonder weapon that allows you to literally just stick a rubber band to your controller and let it do it for you is immediately just going to be one of the better ones. Apothecary Servant. Now, a surprise to absolutely nobody, the Apothecary Servant is the best wonder weapon of all time. With its unique black hole ability and just sucking all the zombies into it, this thing is just absolutely insane. Like, you could go take a walk, you could make some dinner, you could hike the Mount Everest and just you wouldn't even die because you could just hold the trigger the whole way. And like I said, any wonder weapon like that is just makes you invincible. It's just gonna be in the top spots. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you disagree with or what you agree with, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, cause I got it like that. Flow so smooth like I got it on tap. Yeah, and I'ma say it be a good night while I'm on my Yingling, while I'm drinking Bud Light. Can you get it when you miss me?